It was an ordinary day on Earth when everything changed. The sky was clear, the sun was shining, and people were going about their lives. Until the sky darkened. High above Earth, massive ships appeared. These were no ordinary spacecraft. They were enormous, built to strike fear into anyone who saw them. They seemed to blot out the sun as they hovered over every major city across the world. The Galactic Empire, an ancient force in the universe, had come. For thousands of years, they had crushed planets into submission, forcing them to obey the will of their leaders. They had conquered countless worlds, and now Earth was their next target. The world watched in horror as the Empire sent a broadcast across all communication channels. A deep robotic voice echoed from every screen, warning humanity. This is your final warning. Surrender or face destruction. You will kneel before the Empire, or you will be wiped from existence. Across the globe, leaders of Earth's nations quickly gathered. There was panic in every capital city. People crowded around televisions, unsure of what would happen next. The message was clear. Earth had no choice. The Empire was powerful. They had weapons and technology far beyond anything Earth had ever seen. The United Nations called an emergency meeting, and world leaders hurried to make decisions. In the midst of this crisis, there was a voice that cut through the fear and uncertainty. General Meredith Shaw, a military leader known for her calm and courage, stood in front of a crowd of world leaders. "We cannot surrender," she said firmly. "To kneel is to give up our freedom, our future. We must fight." Many were hesitant, knowing the strength of the Empire, but Shaw's words struck a chord. She was not just a leader. She represented the spirit of humanity. "We have faced impossible odds before," she continued. "We will face them again, but we will not bend to their will. We will defend our planet." Her speech was broadcast worldwide, inspiring people across the globe. For the first time in history, Earth was united. The world's leaders agreed. They would not surrender. They would fight for their freedom. In the following days, preparations began. Governments mobilized their forces. Soldiers trained harder than ever before. Scientists and engineers worked day and night to understand the alien technology the Empire had brought with them. Earth's best minds quickly realized something crucial. The Empire's ships, though powerful, relied on energy sources that might be vulnerable. This gave them hope. Perhaps, just perhaps, Earth had a chance. But the Empire was not easily deterred. Days after their message, their ships unleashed a show of power. Without warning, they began firing on Earth's satellites, disabling communication systems around the world. The once peaceful sky was filled with the light of exploding satellites. People screamed in fear as the lights went out across cities. Despite the chaos, Earth's military forces did not falter. The armed forces had prepared for this. They had worked on defense systems, and though not as powerful as the Empire's weapons, they fought back fiercely. Ships launched from Earth's spaceports, and soldiers gathered in bunkers, ready to defend their cities. It was clear that the Empire was trying to break the spirit of humanity with fear, but Earth would not bow. Back in the United Nations headquarters, General Shaw stood with her fellow leaders, facing the reality of what was happening. "This is only the beginning," she said grimly. "The Empire will not stop until they have destroyed us. But we are not going to fall easily." A quiet sense of determination spread through the room. Earth might be small compared to the vastness of space, but humanity had something the Empire could never understand. They had courage, resourcefulness, and the will to survive, and they would not surrender. As the days passed, Earth's resistance grew stronger. Engineers worked tirelessly to build new weapons, creating machines that could fight back against the Empire's terrifying ships. Human ingenuity, born out of desperation, began to turn the tide. It was not just technology that would save Earth. It was the unwavering belief that no one could take away their freedom. The Empire, watching from above, underestimated Earth's resolve. They thought humanity would crumble under pressure, just like so many other worlds before them. But they had made one mistake. They did not understand the power of a planet united, unwilling to give up their freedom without a fight. As Earth prepared for what would surely be the biggest battle in its history, one thing was clear. Humanity had chosen its path. They would not kneel to the Empire. They would rise. The days after Earth's refusal to surrender were filled with tension. The sky remained dark with the shadow of the Empire's warships. People on the ground could only watch in fear as the alien fleet hovered ominously above them. Earth had made its choice. Now, the Empire would show them just how powerful they were. The first strike came without warning. It was early morning when the sky lit up with bright flashes. From their positions in orbit, the Empire began to fire on Earth's satellites, one by one. Each explosion sent ripples of panic across the globe. Communication systems were crippled. Television broadcasts went dark, and the internet blinked out of existence. The world fell into a silence, broken only by the sound of alarms blaring in cities and military bases. People did not know what to do. Was this the end? The Empire's technology was far beyond anything Earth had ever seen. Earth's military, though strong, had never faced an enemy like this. For a moment, it seemed as though the Empire's power would overwhelm them. But General Meredith Shaw was not the kind of leader to give in to fear. From her command center, she watched the destruction unfold on the screens in front of her. The satellite explosions were only the beginning. The Empire would not stop there. Earth's next challenge was coming soon. Prepare the defense systems, Shaw ordered firmly, her voice steady despite the weight of the situation. We may not have their technology, but we have something they don't. We have each other. Across the globe, military bases and spaceports sprang to life. Soldiers and scientists worked together, combining their knowledge and resources to form a united front. Earth's military had been preparing for this moment for years. They knew the Empire was powerful, but they also knew that humanity's strength lay in its ability to adapt. On the ground, the people of Earth were not idle. Civilians rallied together, helping each other wherever they could. Engineers worked day and night to rebuild communication lines, while doctors and medical teams prepared for the worst. Every citizen knew they had a role to play, and they did it with unwavering determination. It was not just soldiers fighting for Earth. It was every person, from every corner of the planet. Meanwhile, in space, Earth's fleet began to assemble. They had few ships compared to the Empire's vast armada, but they had ingenuity on their side. Earth's engineers had managed to develop new weapon systems designed to be used against the Empire's advanced technology. Though crude compared to what the Empire had, they could still do damage. Humanity's strength came not from advanced machines, but from the will to fight for survival. General Shaw watched as the first group of Earth's ships launched into space. They were small, some barely able to escape Earth's atmosphere, but they would fight. The ships had been retrofitted with whatever weapons could be scrounged from Earth's limited resources: missiles, laser cannons, anything that could make an impact. And though they were few, they were determined. The first battle in space was brutal. The Empire, confident in its power, underestimated the determination of the human fighters. Earth's ships may have been smaller, but they used the terrain of space to their advantage. They hid in asteroid fields, ambushed Empire ships, and struck fast before retreating. It wasn't a fair fight. Earth's forces were outmatched, but they refused to back down. Back on Earth, the Empire began its next phase of attack. Massive energy beams shot down from their ships, targeting military bases and key cities. The ground shook with each impact. Earth's cities were not prepared for this level of destruction. But the people did not cower in fear. They ran to safety, but they also ran to fight back. In the chaos, a small group of soldiers, led by Commander Diego Alvarez, took on a dangerous mission. They would not fight in space, but they would be Earth's first line of defense. Their job was to infiltrate one of the Empire's landing sites on Earth and gather information about their weapons. It was a risky plan, but it was one that could give Earth the edge they desperately needed. Alvarez and his team moved swiftly, taking cover in the shadows of destroyed buildings. They had no advanced technology to protect them, just their training and their will. As they crept closer to the alien encampment, the air was thick with tension. The Empire's soldiers, though technologically superior, were not expecting humans to fight back so fiercely. Alvarez's team made it past several security posts, using old-school tactics to stay hidden. As they reached their target, they found a weakness in the Empire's defenses. One of the alien ships, though enormous and intimidating, had a flaw. Its outer armor was strong, but there was a small opening on its underside, one that could be exploited. With the information in hand, Alvarez's team retreated, knowing they had to get this back to General Shaw. As the day came to an end, the Earth had taken its first blow, but it had not fallen. Humanity had stood tall. The Empire had underestimated the spirit of Earth's people, and they would soon learn that no matter how powerful their weapons, they could not break humanity's resolve. The first strike was over, but the war was far from finished. The battle between Earth and the Empire was far from over. While the Empire's warships hovered menacingly above Earth, Earth's people were not ready to give up. After the first wave of destruction, humanity had only grown more determined. The spirit of resistance was alive and well. General Meredith Shaw stood in front of a giant map displayed on a screen, her fingers tracing the movements of the Empire's fleet. It was clear that the Empire had underestimated Earth's resilience. The first battle had been a defeat for Earth's forces, but the fight wasn't lost. Not yet. "We've learned something important," Shaw said as she addressed her team. "The Empire has power, but they think they can win by crushing us with fear. What they don't understand is that fear makes us stronger. We fight for each other." The room was filled with soldiers, engineers, and strategists. Each person in that room knew what was at stake, and they knew the only way to survive was to keep pushing forward. The people of Earth were starting to make small victories. Although the Empire's ships were vastly superior in terms of technology, Earth's forces were becoming more skilled and creative. The first space battle had taught them many lessons about the Empire's tactics. Now, Earth's fighters were learning how to use the vastness of space to their advantage. One of the biggest breakthroughs came from Earth's scientists. They had been working tirelessly to reverse engineer the technology from the downed Empire ships. Although it was slow work, they managed to understand the basics of the alien technology. It was a small step, but it gave Earth the confidence that victory was possible. If they could just understand enough, they could build weapons that could rival the Empire's. While the scientists worked on reverse engineering technology, the people of Earth were doing their part on the ground. In every city, communities came together. Citizens organized protests to show their strength and unity. Workers in factories built makeshift weapons and defense systems. The news spread fast. Earth would not kneel. The fight was not just military. It was a fight for the heart and soul of humanity. In the small town of Redstone, a group of teenagers had their own role to play. They weren't soldiers, but they were determined to help. Using whatever materials they could find, they built small homemade drones. These drones couldn't compete with the Empire's sophisticated technology, but they were fast, light, and hard to detect. The teenagers used them to send messages and gather information, often making it past enemy lines without being noticed. It wasn't much, but it was another way humans were resisting. Elsewhere, in the heart of Europe, a team of engineers worked tirelessly to develop an electromagnetic pulse, EMP, weapon. The theory behind it was simple. If they could disable the Empire's ships just long enough, they could give Earth's forces the advantage they needed. The weapon was still in its early stages, but there was hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, they could turn the tide. As the days passed, the resistance to the Empire's forces grew stronger. The attacks on Earth's cities were constant, but they were no longer as devastating. The Empire's warships continued to fire, but Earth's military had learned how to fight back. More ships launched into space, equipped with whatever weapons Earth could make, and more soldiers took their positions in the fight on the ground. One of the most significant moments came when Commander Diego Alvarez and his team returned with vital information. The team had infiltrated one of the Empire's landing sites and discovered a crucial weakness in the Empire's energy shield. It wasn't impenetrable, but it was difficult to break through. However, if Earth's forces could work together and hit it at the right angle, they could take down the shield and open a path to the Empire's core fleet. The news spread quickly. General Shaw called for a meeting with the world's leaders. The information Alvarez's team had brought back was the key. Earth's next mission was clear. They would focus all their efforts on breaking through the Empire's shield and striking at the heart of their fleet. "We have the chance to take the fight to them," General Shaw said, her voice full of confidence. "We will hit them where it hurts. We will give everything we have, and we will win." The entire world seemed to unite under this banner. People from all walks of life, soldiers, scientists, civilians, put everything aside to fight together. The task ahead was daunting, but humanity was no longer afraid. They had faced destruction, and they had not broken. They had fought back with everything they had. Earth's military forces gathered their strongest ships and soldiers. Engineers finalized the EMP weapon, and the drones became a vital tool for gathering intelligence. Across the planet, preparations were underway for the final push. The Empire, still believing that Earth would kneel, had no idea what was coming. They were about to face a united humanity, one that had learned to fight, to adapt, and to believe in victory. The resistance had grown from a few brave soldiers to an entire world standing together. Earth was no longer the underdog. Earth was a force to be reckoned with. As the first wave of Earth's fleet took to the stars, the people of Earth watched, knowing that their survival was no longer a matter of if, it was a matter of when. The days that followed were filled with anticipation and urgency. Humanity's resistance was growing stronger, but the Empire's warships still loomed in the sky, casting long shadows over Earth. General Meredith Shaw stood at the front of the command center, looking over the latest reports. The task ahead of them was not an easy one, but the spirit of Earth was stronger than ever. "We have a chance," Shaw said, her voice steady and calm, though inside she could feel the weight of the upcoming battle. "Our fleets are ready. The EMP weapon is primed, and we know the weakness in their shield. Now, we strike." Across the world, the plan was set into motion. The key to victory lay in hitting the Empire's energy shield and breaking through. Earth's engineers had been working around the clock to build the EMP weapon, and now it was ready. It wasn't perfect, but it was their best shot. The weapon had to be deployed at the right moment, hitting the Empire's defenses just when they would least expect it. On the ground, the cities were still recovering from the Empire's earlier attacks. People had returned to their homes and work, but their eyes were always on the sky. The sounds of sirens and explosions were still fresh in their memories. However, the air was thick with determination. No one had given up. The thought of the Empire coming to Earth and forcing humanity to kneel seemed impossible now. Earth's people were standing tall, ready to fight. Meanwhile, Earth's military was preparing for the battle ahead. Commander Diego Alvarez and his team had been given a crucial mission: to infiltrate one of the Empire's outer defense stations and plant a small device that would help guide the EMP weapon to its target. The device was small but powerful, and it would allow Earth's forces to make the precise attack needed to take down the Empire's shield. Alvarez and his team had trained for this moment for weeks. They knew the risks. This was a mission that could easily go wrong. But they had no choice. Their task was vital to the success of the entire operation. The small team moved swiftly through the shadows, their movements coordinated and precise. They wore lightweight suits, blending in with the darkened landscape as they approached the Empire's station. The station was heavily guarded, and the Empire's soldiers were ever watchful. But Alvarez and his team had a plan. They used the environment to their advantage, hiding in the tall trees and narrow alleyways. Every step was calculated, every decision weighed carefully. The team knew that one wrong move could mean disaster. After what felt like hours of carefully navigating through enemy lines, Alvarez's team reached the target. The device had to be planted at a very specific point to ensure the EMP weapon would work as intended. Alvarez took a deep breath as he placed the device in the small access panel. It was a tense moment. The team had to remain undetected long enough to ensure their success. The seconds seemed to stretch on forever. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the device was in place. Alvarez gave a silent signal to his team, and they quickly retreated. They were not out of danger yet. The Empire's soldiers were beginning to grow suspicious, and if they were caught now, the mission would be a failure. With nerves of steel, Alvarez led his team back to safety. They moved quickly but quietly, blending into the shadows until they were safely away from the station. Back in the command center, General Shaw received the news. The device had been successfully planted, and Earth's forces were ready for the final push. It was time to launch the attack. As Earth's fleet assembled in space, everyone knew this was their moment. The ships were smaller than the Empire's, but they were packed with resolve. Each ship was a symbol of humanity's strength, each pilot a representative of Earth's spirit. They were ready to fight not just for their homes, but for the future of their entire species. The EMP weapon was deployed, and its effects were immediate. The energy shield that protected the Empire's fleet flickered and then collapsed. The Empire's ships, unprepared for this sudden turn of events, were left vulnerable. It was now or never. Attack. General Shaw's voice echoed through the comms, and Earth's fleet surged forward. The battle that followed was chaotic. Earth's ships darted through the darkness of space, striking at the Empire's forces with everything they had. The Empire's ships fought back fiercely, but they were struggling without their shield. The tides had begun to turn. On the ground, Earth's soldiers continued their fight against the Empire's ground forces. Cities that had once been on the brink of collapse now rose up. The people of Earth, inspired by the success of the fleet, pushed back against the invaders. Though the Empire's soldiers were technologically advanced, they lacked the one thing that made humanity unstoppable: the will to fight. Back in space, Earth's fleet was gaining ground. The Empire's ships, though numerous, were no longer able to coordinate as effectively without their shield. The sudden assault had taken them off guard. The battle raged on, with Earth's forces fighting harder than ever. This was their moment. The moment they proved that no matter how powerful the enemy, humanity would always fight back. As the first wave of attacks raged on, the Empire began to regroup, trying to adapt to the new situation. But it was too late. The battle had shifted in Earth's favor. The Empire's reign was no longer as certain as it once was. Humanity had shown them that they would not kneel. The turning point had arrived. Despite the successful push from Earth's forces, the Empire was not one to give up easily. The unexpected turn of events had shaken their confidence, but they were far from defeated. They had resources, technology, and an army unlike any Earth had ever seen. The fight had only just begun. General Meredith Shaw stood before a large display, her eyes scanning the reports from the battlefront. The first wave had been a success, but she knew the Empire would not sit idly by. They would retaliate, and when they did, it would be a battle unlike any they had faced before. Earth's forces had made progress, but they were still outnumbered. "We need to stay sharp," Shaw said, addressing her team. "This victory is only the beginning. The Empire will come at us harder now. We need to keep our defenses strong and press forward while we can." The mood in the command center was tense, but there was a sense of determination in the air. Humanity had shown that they could fight back, and now there was no turning back. But the next stage of the war would be more dangerous than ever. Meanwhile, in the vastness of space, the Empire's fleet was regrouping. Their commanders had quickly realized the weakness in their defense: Earth's EMP weapon. In response, the Empire began deploying new shields that were more advanced and nearly impenetrable. They would not allow Earth to strike so easily again. The Empire also began to escalate their attacks on Earth's cities. The resistance had caused them trouble, but the Empire had plenty of ships and soldiers to spread across the globe. Earth's forces were still learning to adapt to the Empire's strategy, and the Empire was counting on this to regain the upper hand. In the midst of the chaos, Commander Diego Alvarez and his team were assigned a dangerous mission. Earth's military had gathered crucial intelligence from the first wave of attacks, and they had discovered that the Empire was planning to deploy a new weapon, one that could destroy entire cities with a single strike. The weapon was still being developed, but it was close to completion. If the Empire succeeded in deploying it, Earth's forces would be devastated. "We need to stop this weapon before it's too late," Alvarez said to his team. "If the Empire gets this weapon operational, they will turn the tide of the war. Our job is simple. We go in, find it, and destroy it." Alvarez and his team set out on their mission with the weight of the world on their shoulders. The plan was risky, but there was no other choice. They would infiltrate the Empire's main base, located on a remote planet deep within their territory. The planet was heavily guarded, and the Empire's forces were on high alert. The team had to be quick and precise. Every moment counted. As they made their way to the Empire's base, Alvarez couldn't help but think about the stakes. The Resistance had been working tirelessly to protect Earth, but the Empire's counterattacks were relentless. If they didn't stop the new weapon, it could spell the end for humanity. But Alvarez knew that Earth's strength lay in their ability to adapt and overcome. They had faced destruction before and had risen each time. Now, they would do it again. Back on Earth, the situation was growing more desperate. The Empire's counterattacks had hit major cities hard. Infrastructure was damaged, and the civilian population was suffering. But even in the face of adversity, Earth's people refused to surrender. In the ruins of once great cities, citizens were banding together to rebuild. The spirit of humanity was unwavering. They were not going to let the Empire win. They would stand together, fight together, and survive. General Shaw continued to lead Earth's forces with a steady hand. "We've taken some losses, but we can still win this," she said during a video briefing to world leaders. "The Empire may be more powerful, but we have something they don't: unity. The people of Earth are standing together, and that's something the Empire can't break." Shaw's words were a rallying cry. People across the planet heard her message and responded. Volunteers enlisted to fight in the military, while others worked tirelessly to provide supplies and aid to those in need. Earth's unity was growing stronger, and with every passing day, the hope of victory seemed more tangible. Meanwhile, the Empire was preparing its final blow. The new weapon was almost ready, and they planned to strike Earth with it soon. But they had underestimated Earth's ability to adapt. The Resistance, led by brilliant scientists and engineers, had developed new countermeasures. They were building weapons capable of piercing the Empire's advanced shields. They were working on new strategies to outmaneuver the Empire's fleet. Every day, humanity was getting better at fighting back. The stage was set for the next battle, a battle that would determine the fate of Earth. Would humanity's resistance be enough to overcome the Empire's might, or would Earth fall under the heel of the invaders? As Commander Alvarez's team approached the Empire's base, they knew that the fate of the war rested in their hands. If they failed, the Empire would continue its relentless assault on Earth. But if they succeeded, they would strike a powerful blow against the Empire's plans and give humanity a fighting chance. The tension was unbearable as Earth's forces prepared for the final battle. They had come so far, but the road ahead was filled with uncertainty. The Empire's new weapon was nearly ready, and it could wipe out entire cities in a single strike. Commander Diego Alvarez and his team were on a mission to stop it, but the stakes had never been higher. Back on Earth, General Meredith Shaw stood in the command center, her eyes fixed on the holographic map in front of her. The battle had intensified, and the Empire was pushing harder than ever. Earth's forces had made progress, but there was still much to be done. Shaw's expression was grim as she surveyed the reports. "The Empire is getting desperate," Shaw said, her voice steady but laced with determination. "We need to stop that weapon. If it becomes operational, we could lose everything. We'll have to be prepared for their final push." Across the world, Earth's resistance forces were rallying for the next phase of the war. The military was strengthened, the people were more united than ever, and the hope of victory seemed within reach. But they knew the Empire would not go down without a fight. The next few days would be critical. Meanwhile, on the remote planet where Alvarez's team had infiltrated the Empire's base, things were moving quickly. The team had made it past the outer defenses, but the deeper they ventured, the more dangerous it became. The Empire's soldiers were everywhere, and the security systems were almost impossible to bypass. The team was running out of time. "We're close," Alvarez whispered to his team as they navigated through a narrow corridor. "We've got to move fast. If we don't destroy that weapon now, it'll be too late." As they continued down the hallways of the Empire's base, the weight of their mission pressed on them. Failure was not an option. Earth's future depended on the success of this operation. The further they went, the more they encountered resistance. The Empire was well aware of the threat, and their soldiers were on high alert. Alvarez's team fought their way through each wave of defenders, using all their skills and tactics to stay one step ahead. They had been trained for moments like this, but it was still a brutal fight. Every corner could hold an enemy. Every shadow could conceal a threat. Finally, after what seemed like an eternity, they reached the control room where the weapon was being stored. The massive doors loomed in front of them, a final barrier between them and the destruction that could bring Earth to its knees. Alvarez motioned for his team to get into position. They knew that once they breached those doors, there would be no turning back. With a swift motion, one of the team members hacked into the security system. The doors creaked open, revealing the weapon, a terrifying machine capable of leveling entire cities with a single blast. It was more advanced than anything Earth had ever seen. But Alvarez was not afraid. He had seen human ingenuity at work. He knew that they could find a way to destroy it. "Get to the control panel," Alvarez ordered. "We need to disable this thing before it's too late." As the team moved into position, they quickly realized that disabling the weapon would not be easy. The control systems were encrypted, and the weapon was heavily protected by security protocols. But the team had a plan. They had brought with them a specially designed virus that could infiltrate and disable the system. It was risky, but it was their only option. Alvarez kept his eyes on the door, knowing that the Empire's soldiers were closing in. The countdown was ticking down, and they had only minutes to complete the task. With steady hands, the team member inserted the virus into the system, and the tension in the room grew unbearable. The seconds seemed to stretch as they waited for the virus to take effect. Suddenly, the lights in the room flickered. The screen on the control panel flashed a series of warnings. The virus was working. "We've got it," the team member shouted. But just as hope surged through Alvarez's chest, the door behind them exploded open. Empire soldiers stormed into the room, guns raised. The team was outnumbered, and the weapon they had come to destroy was still standing, ready to unleash its deadly power. "Get the weapon," Alvarez shouted, grabbing his blaster and firing at the approaching soldiers. The room erupted into chaos as gunfire echoed through the control room. Alvarez's team fought valiantly, but they were up against overwhelming odds. In the midst of the battle, Alvarez spotted a control panel near the base of the weapon. If he could reach it, he could activate the self-destruct sequence, but it was too far away, and the Empire's soldiers were closing in. The minutes were running out. "I'll cover you," one of his team members yelled, firing at the soldiers to provide Alvarez with a chance to reach the control panel. With a surge of adrenaline, Alvarez sprinted towards the panel, dodging gunfire and enemy soldiers. He reached the control panel just as the countdown on the weapon's screen reached its final seconds. His heart raced as he pressed the button to initiate the self-destruct sequence. A loud alarm blared as the countdown began. There was no time to waste. "Get out of there, now." Alvarez. Shaw leaned forward, her eyes fixed on the screen. The voice continued. "Commander Alvarez's team has successfully destroyed the Empire's weapon. They're on their way back to the ship now." A wave of relief washed over Shaw. The weapon was gone. Earth had struck a decisive blow against the Empire. And for the first time in the war, there was a sense of hope. "We have a chance," Shaw whispered to herself. "Now we take the fight to them." The victory over the Empire's weapon marked a turning point in the war. The Empire's forces, though still formidable, were beginning to falter. Their confidence had been shattered, and the loss of their most powerful weapon was a blow they could not easily recover from. As Earth's forces regrouped and prepared for the next phase of the battle, Alvarez's team returned to Earth as heroes. Their mission had been a success, and they had saved humanity from certain destruction. But they knew the war was not over. The Empire would retaliate, and Earth's forces had to be ready. Back in the command center, Shaw addressed the leaders of Earth's nations. "The Empire has been wounded, but they are not defeated," she said. "We must press the advantage now. We have the technology, the will, and the unity to end this. The time to strike is now." Shaw's words were a rallying cry. The people of Earth had come together in the face of overwhelming odds, and now they would fight as one. The Empire had underestimated humanity's resolve, and now they would learn the cost of their arrogance. As the final assault against the Empire began, the forces of Earth gathered for the ultimate battle. The streets of major cities were filled with soldiers, volunteers, and civilians, all preparing for what would be the last push. Earth's military, now united and stronger than ever, launched a coordinated attack on the Empire's remaining forces. The battle was fierce. The Empire's fleet had regrouped, and their soldiers fought with relentless determination.